الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Welcome to the third session of intellectual jihad, and I hope today we will learn a lot. So I will benefit from your contribution, and I left it up to you to actually unmute yourself and join, inshallah. So I will share this presentation with you to kickstart the session, inshallah. And now that title, this is the session today is, has Allah Azza wa subhanahu wa ta'ala already decided what's going to happen without ADE to the day of judgment? So I will value your contribution, inshallah. So we have quite a few joined so far. Who wants to start? It's like in school, if you don't start, I will name somebody to start, inshallah. Right, has Allah Azza wa Jal decided what's going to happen? Because when you meet non-Muslims or atheists, or even Muslims, the thoughts come to their mind. If Allah already decided why we should do any salah or any zakah or any, why we should, why should we make dua if already decided what's going to happen? So what will be your answer? Somebody asked you this. I listened to a lot of philosophers saying this, actually, even priests, and they couldn't find the answer. Right. Any contribution? Has Allah already decided? So you're afraid to be wrong on whatever you say, is it? Am I not allowing you to talk? So, I am, yeah. Mute.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, so I think framing the question in this way, I guess the first thing that comes to mind for me is a question of whether there's any point to life. Like, that's where they're coming from when they ask the question. Like, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already, the creator's already decided and already is aware of every single person's action and their destiny, where they're going to end up, then what is the point? And brings into question the idea of free will. Does it even exist? Do you even have a choice? If every decision you're going to make is already being predetermined and is known to the creator, then you're just, it's almost like a track that's playing out, and you're just on that spoke, and time is passing, but every decision you make isn't really your decision, right? That's the way the question is framed.
So what would be the
correct?
Islamic answer then?
So from our perspective, I guess we could argue from the position of free will, the fact that the creator is aware of what we're going to do doesn't necessarily take away the idea that we have a decision to make or that we have free will. Like, right now, I could decide to leave this call or stay in this call. I could decide to speak or not speak. That's still within my ability, because that's something that the creator has given to me. It's a ability, it's a gift, if you will. That's something that Allah has given to all of mankind, the decision to make, the ability to make a decision, right? And we can decide one way or another. And ultimately, that's why we have the Day of Judgment, because we are accountable for the decisions that we make, right?
The ayahs or hadith might contradict what you're saying.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll bring an ayah to you. And so this ayah in Surah Al-Hadid, you can see it, yeah, all of you, yeah? Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ما أصاب من مصيبة في الأرض ولا في أنفسكم إلا في كتاب من قبل أن نبرأها إن ذلك على الله يسير. That no misfortune can happen on earth or in your soul, within yourself, but is recorded in a degree before we bring it into existence, before he created the universe. And the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith, 50,000 years before he created the universe. And that's truly easy for Allah Azza wa Jal. And the hadith عن عمران بن حسين قال قيل يا رسول الله أعلم أهل الجنة من أهل النار فقال نعم قال قيل ففيما يعمل العاملون قال كل ميسر لما خلق له. So this hadith and Imran ibn Hussein reported that it was said to Prophet Muhammad to say to Allah Azza wa Jal, his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has there been drawn a distinction between the people? It's not actually a distinction. Ulima, is it known? Is it known who is going to go to paradise and who is going to go to hell? And the Prophet ﷺ said yes. So the one who asked, he said, if it is so, then what is the use of doing good deeds or bad deeds? It's already known. Therein he said, everyone is facilitated in what he has been created for him. That also creates more questions. That if I was created to do whatever Allah has decided, why if somebody kills somebody will go to hell and somebody else will go to paradise if it's already decided?
Dr. Issam, are you open for questions or you're leaving it till last? If you have any question to say.
No, I'm asking you to make contribution, Dr. Abdul Qadir. Dr. Abdul Qadir, thank you for joining us. I'm glad you are in Leicester. I thought you were in Istanbul.
Yeah,
so the question
last night I was waiting for anybody to join.
So the question, has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already decided what's going to happen? And we have just read in the hadith and the ayah that yes, he has decided. He has that all that has been written in the book. And the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah Azza wa Jal already decided who's going to hell, who's going to paradise. There's actually another hadith that Allah Azza wa Jal took a hufna, that a group of people, and said that's in paradise and I don't care, wala ubali, and these are in Jannah and I wala ubali. So that's make more confusion in people. So how would you address it? Back again.
Personally, I think we cannot say that al-insanu musayyarun, completely musayyar or completely mukhayyar. There are things that we are not responsible for.
Completely controlled or completely have free will, you mean?
It's not the case. There are things that are we have no choice of. Being born in Algeria, not in Morocco, being Arab, not French, be dark face or dark skin.
We're not disputing that.
These are not my responsibility. Allah is not going to punish me for this or not.
What we're not disputing that.
To believe, to act according to what is believed. All this is based on the knowledge of Allah. Allah knows that this person is going to do these things and do that. He does not force him to do that.
Is it the knowledge or is it the plan of Allah? Is it the plan of Allah?
The knowledge. The plan of Allah is based on the knowledge of Allah. Allah knowledge is he knows what is previous, what is going to happen, what is not going to happen.
So he knows what you are going to do, but he has no control over it, is it?
No, he has the control. He has left that control to us. For that reason, he punished us only for that reason, for that choice. Not above, not outside that choice.
You don't have control over whether you pray or not, but you have control over your intention. Is that what you mean?
He had told me to pray. Now, if I pray, I obey him and I enter paradise as he planned. If I don't pray, it's my choice. I am punished for not praying because I disobeyed him. And he knows that I'm going to disobey him. For that reason, he has recorded it. This is the way it's going to happen.
How Allah knows the future?
Allah is creator. He knows what's knows the past and the future and everything, because he's the God, the creator of everything.
How would you convince an atheist in the 21st century that Allah knows the future?
If he does not believe that he's creator, there is no more discussion. If he is creator, he knows. He is omniscient, omnipresent. He knows everything. He knows what's happened, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen.
But that will be
otherwise,
like.
it's not creator. Otherwise, it's not worth worshipping.
But that will be like the Christians say, close your eyes and follow the command.
No, I'm not closing my eyes. I'm responsible.
So how would you?
Allah punished me for what is I am responsible for. He does not punish me, as I said before, being born here or there, or white or black, or this or that, or speaking Arabic or speaking English. But he will punish me for things that I have control of. That is
any more contribution? Any more want to talk about it?
No, I think you are moving away from the original question of if Allah has a plan for you, can you change it through prayers and all that? That's the question.
That will be another issue to that question. If Allah has a plan for you, can you change it? We in the Quran, and Allah says in many places, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. You can never have any anything done unless Allah allows that to happen. So, but has Allah decided? He put a plan from A to Z. What's going to happen from before the creation? He wrote that in Lawh al-Mahfuz, in the protected board. He wrote 50,000 years before creation. What's going to happen until the day of judgment? And there is obviously a proof that his information and what he wrote is correct. But how would your brain accept that Allah knows the future and wrote it already? How would you convince a young Muslim teenager?
I think you need to disassociate the idea that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the creator has knowledge, that takes away the ability for me or any of mankind to make a decision. Like, that's the idea that we need to divorce.
So he has knowledge about the future.
He has knowledge about the future. He has knowledge about the past. He has knowledge about everything that has been created, what is before, what will come.
Was it done by you? What if he has knowledge in the past about the future? Where does the dua fit? Does he change his knowledge?
Yeah, that's the question.
Or it changed what's written on the sacred.
So I think dua is one of those special things where I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has even told us that dua is one of the things that can change the outcome of destiny, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has because we accept that the creator is not limited. He doesn't have any limits. There's nothing that is beyond his capabilities.
But an atheist said to me, so it was what God made and wrote in the beginning was wrong. So he modified it along the way after you made the dua. So what he wrote originally wasn't fully written because you made dua and he made a change.
That's irrelevant. Why is there a requirement that nothing can change?
And dua, mind you, mukhul ibadah. The Prophet ﷺ said dua is the essence of worship. And if you don't make dua, you will be punished.
When you make dua and when you're not. He knows before you do the dua or before you don't do it, he knows that what you're going to follow, this side or that side. So both you are within his scope of his vast knowledge that he has allowed that to.
Yeah. Now the qadar, I want to bring it into discussion. The qadar is three types of qadar. Let me say three types of qadar. Qadar, which is the plan of Allah, which you can't change, and the qadar, which is the law of Allah, which you can oppose it by another law of Allah, which is they asked the Prophet ﷺ, they said, medicine we use and prayer we do, or ruqyan al-taqiha, will it stop the qadar of Allah? He said, that's a qadar of Allah, that's a law. The water freeze at 0, and you stop it freezing by adding antifreeze. The third qadar is the measure. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً بِقَدَرٍ. So he increased the qadar of rizq of sustenance, and he reduced it. Increase the qadar of age, you live longer, or reduce it, you live shorter. But what I'm trying to get at, which most of the scholars have difficulty with, is time. Time. So how would you define time? Is time applies to Allah Azza wa Jal?
No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not limited by anything.
Why time is not applied to him?
Well, he's the creator. He created time. So he can't be limited by
time?
something he created.
So what is time? What time means? Difficult, isn't it? There's this series about Close to Truth, and he made quite a lot of episodes trying to interview people and find out what time means. Any more, or shall I go to the slides? No more slides?
I think the only other thing I would add is touching on or expanding on something you mentioned there, that there are, and something which one of the other doctors mentioned as well, that there are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created that, or there are things that are completely outside of our control. We have no influence over them, and we cannot change them. But then there is also an area in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us control, and has given us the ability to make decisions. And that's something that he, as the creator, now, even though he has knowledge, that doesn't take away from us having the ability to make a decision one way or another. So we still have a sense of free will, and therefore we are still accountable for what happens, and we still make that choice inside of that area where he's allowed us to do that.
Well, we are looking into when Allah created the creation, and he decided what's going to happen before he created, and Allah said, he said to the angels, I'm going to put on earth a vicegerent, before he created Adam. So the things seem to be happening from Allah Azza wa Jal. He told وَمُبَشِّرًا بِرَسُولٍ يَأْتِي مِنْ بَعْدِ اسْمُهُ أَحْمَدٍ, that Isa will give the good news that a messenger will come after me. His name is Ahmad. And he came 610 years after that. He was born 570 years. So it was a promise fulfilled 570 years after that. That what makes difficult for the atheists and the non-Muslims figure out how you fit Allah Azza wa Jal with the time. If Allah decided before the plan, if the plan already there, so why he take people to hell, people to paradise? If there's no plan, then it has no control over the plan. And we say, oh, the Muslim will say, no, he has a plan, which is the qadar, which is a plan. He said to Musa, you came according to a plan. So this is a plan of Allah Azza wa Jal, that he will, and he gave orders to the mother to throw him in the sea, in the river, and the river will take him to the shore of Pharaoh. Pharaoh will take him, and blah blah. So it's all planned in advance and filled into spaces. Like Yusuf alayhi salam, I've seen 11 stars and the sun and the moon bowing down to me. Way before it happened, like 40, 50, more than 50 years nearly. So he stayed in the prison and grown up and became that. So how would you fit? That's the time, the problem. Figuring out what is the time, what time means, and where you fit it with the plan of Allah Azza wa Jalla and the qada and qadar. Obviously, qada is the sentence, the ruling for Allah Azza wa Jalla, but qadar, the plan of Allah. And then the measure, the qadar, which is the measure, the amount, increases and decreases, because people make dua and Allah send the rain. If people don't make dua, there's no rain. Make dua, Allah cure the patient. They make dua, Allah Azza wa Jal give them more money. Make dua, give them children. So it's events changing according on the way. And the Quran came from the 7 heavens to the first heaven. إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةٍ مُبَارَكَةٍ, in the night of Qadr, Laylatul Qadr. And when events were not happening yet, and then came down over 23 years, and every ayah comes with the event before it. So it came as Allah wrote the Quran on that time. So that's what's confusing. So this is what
there
we
is no
want.
much confusion here. Allah created. Allah was existed before any of this creation was including time and places.
We're not disputing that, Dr.
I am saying
Qadir.
that this, based on this, Allah knows whatever is going to happen, what is not going to happen. You remember that Umar bin Khattab once
he makes changes along.
Let me finish. Let me just finish. Umar bin Khattab was about to enter a place, and there was a disease in there. They told him don't. He didn't want to enter that place because he said, I said, I'm running from the Qadar Allah ila Qadar Allah. I am in both cases, I am in the Qadar Allah.
Yeah, that's the second tabah. That Qadar is a plan. وجئت على قدر إن Musa came according to plan, Musa. And the Qadar, which is the law of Allah, like, the water freeze at 0, you make it freeze by adding antifreeze, and you fight a Qadar of Allah by another Qadar. And the last Qadar, the measure. Allah, إن كل شيء خلقناه بقدر, according to a plan. So the dispute is, how do you link between the time and the creation and the plan of Allah Azza wa Jal? Let me go through some slides and then you tell me. Time is different in different places, different people. There's no argument about that. Now, we came across this surah and Surah Hadith, that everything has already written. And Allah Azza wa Jal said in Surah An-Nahl, Ata Amrullah, the day of judgment has already taken place, but for us, فَلَا تَسْتَعْجِلُوهُ, don't hurry it up. So Allah Azza wa Jal, the day of judgment already taken place, and the proof of that, he took Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to that 7 heavens, above the 7 heavens, and he saw people punished in hell, and he saw people enjoying themselves in paradise, and he heard even Bilal walking in paradise, and he saw the paradise which Umar bin Khattab is going to live there, and he named people where will go to paradise. By the way, if we run out of the time, we will restart again, so don't switch off. Stay on tune. I will reopen again. I'm going to use one of Talha's program, inshallah, so we will have long and unlimited time. So Ata Amrullah, day of judgment already happened. Yeah? And Allah Azza wa Jal, huwa al-awwal wal-akhir. So he's the first without a start, the last without an end, and he's in between. So he is already the akhir. He's already the one who reached the destination. Like if I'm going walking to London and somebody went by a helicopter, he reached London, he will tell me all what I will see on the way. So he's already there. Yeah? And then he knew who was going to go to Jannah and who was going to go to hellfire, because he's already there. And the Prophet ﷺ went to the end of life and came back. So like the Prophet ﷺ crossed the universe in space, and he crossed the universe in time. He went to the future and came back and reported what he saw. And Umar bin Khattab asked him, can you describe Jannah? He said, if I sit and talk to you for 100 years, I wouldn't tell you about a little bit of Jannah. So how much he saw in that little time. So this ayah, this hadith, again, the Prophet ﷺ said, how your life will be run in this life, that if you, amma man a'ta wattaqa, because he said here that every person, he sat and he had a stick with his hand, and he was saying, there is no soul among you, but his place in paradise or hell is known. They said, oh Messenger of Allah, why should we strive? He said, keep striving, for everyone will be helped to do that for which he is created. So what he said, you will be helped for what you are created if you give, amma man a'ta, give, and taqa, be mindful of Allah Azza wa Jal, and believe in the husna, believe in Islam and in Jannah, and Allah will lead you through an easy way. Your life will be uneasy in this life. And on the other hand, the one who is stingy and he doesn't care about Allah Azza wa Jal, and he denies the hereafter, denies the message for Allah, he will lead a difficult life. So Abu Bakr the Prophet named so many people who are already in Jannah, and they were not dead yet, and he died, and he doesn't know what's going to happen after that. So we have 10 minutes to go, but I will reopen again after we finish. So, and Sa'ad and whatever, and then that will lead us to relativity now. Relativity theory, Albert Einstein, and energy, mass, time, speed, square speed, which means that mathematically the speed equal to distance divided by time. If you travel 180 miles in 3 hours, your speed is 60 miles an hour. When your speed reach the speed of light, your time stop. I want to share this. I want to share a video with you. Where is it now? Yeah, this is the video. Just you travel in north or east, but imagine you're traveling in time and space. If you are static, you are not traveling in space, you're traveling in time. And if you're going very fast, you travel in space, but not in time, and your time is slows down. And listen what he says. If you can't hear him, let me know.
While we know the overall speed the car is going, we don't know how much of it is in the east direction and how much of it is in the north direction. So let's take a closer look at that.
Can you hear the sound?
The car can move entirely in the eastward direction, which means that it has no motion in the northward direction. Or the car can move entirely northward,
yes, we can.
and not at all eastward. Or we can live dangerously and move towards the northeast. In this case, we see that the car is moving in both the east and north directions, with neither direction getting all of the motion. So that's the core analogy, and hopefully it's very clear. Now, let's bring in relativity. In relativity, we don't have the east and north directions. Instead, we have space-time. Let's imagine that the horizontal direction is space and the vertical direction is time. So suppose that there is a single and fixed speed that we can travel through space-time. This happens to be true, so it's not a ridiculous supposition. We can therefore mix these ideas with our earlier analogy. An object can move vertically. In that case, they're not moving through space, and they're moving entirely through time. That's probably what you're doing right now. You're sitting and watching this video, so your position in space isn't changing. However, you are experiencing time. You aren't moving through space, but you're moving through time. On the other hand, what happens as you start moving through space? That's a fancy way to say that you gain some velocity. Well, we see here that what starts to happen is that as you begin to move through space, you move less through time. And eventually, when you move only through space, you don't move through time at all. And this is basically what relativity says. As you move faster and faster, your clocks slow down. And as you get very close to the speed of light, your clocks very nearly stop. We've scientifically proven that this is what happens, and I direct you to my video on time dilation so you can see one way that we've tested that. So this
is the what is it? If you travel faster than the speed of light, you travel back in time. So when mathematically that's it's known, it's fact. But can you apply it? No, you cannot travel faster than the speed of light. But now they discovered that the galaxy is actually going faster than the speed of light. So they turn to a new theory now that the universe is expanding. And Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَالسَّمَاءُ بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ. So the sama, it has structure. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْحُبُكِ. The sama, Allah Azza wa Jalla has, we built it with mighty hand and we're enlarging it. And another place in the Quran, he said, وَالسَّمَاء ذَاتِ الْحُبُكِ, the sky which has structure, hubuk. So it's like a siege, like a textile, and he's expanding it. And they said, oh, there's dark energy and dark matter, and the dark energy is 75%, dark matter 20%, and the 5% is the visible universe. So the science now accepting that you could reach a stage when you are in the past, in the present, in the future at the same time, mathematically. The belief in the qadar of Allah, the plan of Allah, the decision of Allah, what He wrote, it needs a lot of knowledge, in deep end of knowledge, to start understanding how it is that Allah knows the future. So Allah Azza wa Jal said, "Inna yawman inda rabbika," is a day with your Lord, is like 1,000 years of your count. Then He said, في يوم كان مقداره تعرج الملائكة يدبر الأمر من السماء إلى الأرض ثم يعرج إليه في يوم كان مقداره 1000 سنة. So they go in a day equal to 1,000 years. Another one He said, تعرج الملائكة وروح إليه في يوم كان مقداره 50,000 سنة. So relativity is not actually new to Muslims. We know time to Allah Azza wa Jal is related to other things, other issues. Time is created by Allah, and Allah Azza wa Jal said, يسب ابن آدم الدهر وأنا الدهر بيدي الأمر قلب الليل والنهار. So Allah Azza wa Jal is the controlling the time. It's difficult to understand how He called Himself وأنا الدهر, and it's in Hadith Qudsi in Bukhari and Muslim. He called Himself time, Allah Azza wa Jal. So He's in the past, present, the future at the same time. He's already seen what happened, and He wrote it as it happened, when it happened. And He wrote it before it happened, because He's in past, present, and future at the same time. And there's a lot of things in the Quran, when Allah mentioned that's going to happen, like that the Romans lost the war and they will win in few years. And they did. And they won. And the Muslimin will be happy with that, because the believers won also Badr war at the same time. So it was double happiness at them. In Surah Al-Qalam, He said that about Walid ibn al-Mughira, that his nose will be chopped. And it was. And then that all these alliance will be defeated in Ahzab, and they will run away, and they were. So in the Quran, there's many ayahs. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, the Sufaha, the feeble-minded will say this, and they said it. And those who committed shirk, they will say this, and they said it. So the Quran was saying, even the day before, tomorrow they will say this, next week they will say this. When they went to Tabuk, Allah told them about all what the hypocrites would tell them. And when they came back, they said to him, قَدْ نَبَّأَنَا اللَّهُ مِنْ أَخْبَارِكُمْ. So Allah Azza wa Jal telling the sequence, but Allah Azza wa Jal is not waiting for it to happen. Allah already in the future seeing it happen, because He is the last, هو الأول والآخر, the first and the last. And time could be zero, like what He said. If you travel in time. We are all traveling in time now, sitting, or you travel in space, or space and time. But if your speed is very fast, your time stops. And they tested that now when they made, planes move around the earth 4 times, and the clock on the plane was slower. So it's like the story of Yusuf. Allah said that they will pass a lot of signs in the heaven, and they won't believe. And Allah will show us His signs within the horizon or not. There's 1 minute left, but after we finish, we will restart, inshallah. And from the history, when the Prophet ﷺ asked Ali ibn Abi Talib to erase the word Muhammad Rasulullah and write Muhammad ibn Abdullah, and Ali ibn Abi Talib refused 3 times, the Prophet ﷺ said, you will come across a similar occasion and you will accept. So years passed, and then when he had trouble with Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, and Muawiyah said, I don't agree that you are the Khalifa and you have to erase that Ali Amir al-Mu'mineen. And he said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam Muhammad, he told him, you will come across similar occasion and you will erase it. Between the hostages, the prisoners of war, was Suhail ibn Amr. And he was the speaker of Mecca. He was like the one who's taking like the official speaker on behalf of Mecca people. And when he was caught as a prisoner of war, Umar ibn Khattab asked the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, دعني أنزع ثنيتي سهيل ibn Amr. Let me take his teeth out so he wouldn't be able to insult you anymore, and he wouldn't talk about you anymore. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said to him, كلا يا عمر دعه لعل سهيلا يقف غدا موقفا يسرك. No, Umar, don't do it, because leave him, because one day he will stand firm and speak in a way that it will really please you. And then when the Prophet ﷺ died and the Arabs were, against the Prophet ﷺ, against Islam, Suhail ibn Amr in Mecca, he gave a speech and he supported Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and he was quite, outspoken, and he convinced the Mecca people to side with Abu Bakr and go with the Harub al-Ridda, the wars against those apostates and things. And obviously, Umar ibn Khattab remembered the history. So, in summary, that the things which we have difficulty coping with is time, and we have for us past, present, and future, while it is actually the time is created by Allah Azza wa Jal for us to keep with the events happening. For Allah Azza wa Jal, the time is the past, present, and future exists at the same time for Allah Azza wa Jal. So he's changing his creation the way he wants. And that allows you to understand why dua will achieve a change, and why if you eat correct food, and if you exercise, and if you make dua, you might live longer years than when the angels coded in your DNA. So there is a chance for because the ayah وما يعمر من معمر وما ينقص من عمره إلا في كتاب. A lot of us, people who try to do the tafsir, the meaning of the Quran, they had difficulty coping with this ayah. How is it that your lifespan is known to Allah in advance, and how will Allah increase it or decrease it? To increase the quality, increase the happiness. But no, in fact, the Prophet ﷺ made dua to a lot of Sahaba, and they lived very long years. And one of the Sahaba was quite a young boy. The Prophet ﷺ just splashed water on him, and he lived 120 years and never had any gray hair. So the time is difficult for us to understand, but the relativity came and started saying, yes, everybody has his own time, depends on his speed. And Allah Azza wa Jal, if he's not actually traveling from A to B to C, you don't know what Allah is, but Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who creates things and make it move. When it's moved, it marks time for itself. Allah Azza wa Jal already in the future, already in the past. And the most important event for us to confirm that was Isra and Mi'raj. So Isra and Mi'raj showed us that Allah Azza wa Jal already in the future, and already people in hellfire, and already in paradise. But for us, it's still yet to happen. And this ayah in Surah An-Nahl explains it really well. Ata amrullah, the command of Allah has come. The day of judgment has already taken place. But for us, فَلَا تَسْتَعْجِلُوا. فَلَا تَسْتَعْجِلُوا. Don't hurry it up. So we are created by Allah Almighty, it's extremely difficult to understand things He said, and He wants you to believe in it full stop. Your brain might not be big enough or educated enough to understand how things happen this way. So for my student, I say, look, Allah Azza wa Jalla already in the future wrote what was going to happen, and He knows it's already happened for him, but He wrote it before He created, because He's already in the past as well. So it might be difficult for the brain to adjust to it, but yeah, I was traveling to London, walking to London, somebody went in a helicopter, he's already there, and he wrote all what I'm going to see on my way. So I will see it definitely, because he's already seen it, and he wrote it in a book before he even traveled. So he's in the past, present, and the future at the same time. And our scholars say, لا يحده زمان ولا مكان. Nothing will limit Allah Azza wa Jal, neither time or space. So it all will fall in a place like a jigsaw. When you come, take Allah Azza wa Jal out of the equation of time. He's in the past, present, and future. He's not like us waiting for things to happen, or he had the knowledge to happen. But people don't say, oh, how he has the knowledge. It's in the Lawh al-Mahfuz is going to happen, but because he's already in the future and seen it happen and wrote it, and he can change it because he's already there. And Allah Azza wa Jal, there's an incident when Imam Ghazali was asked about the ayah in Surah Al-Rahman, that كل يوم هو في شأن. Every day is Allah doing, Azza wa Jal is doing something different. So he said, Abu Hamid Ghazali, what is our Lord doing today? What Allah is doing today? He said, oh, I don't know, I'll find out for you. Didn't have an answer. He went and looked into his books and asked his friend things, and came the second day, the same person asked him, what's Allah Azza wa Jal doing today? And he said, I'll find out for you, come back. And the third day, he went and he saw Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he asked him the question, Abu Hamid al-Ghazali. He said, Amurun yubdiha wa la yabtadiha. Amurun, he uncovered things. He doesn't start it from the start. Like Adam could have invented the laser beams. Adam could have invented the mobile. The knowledge is there. Allah Azza wa Jal already created the things, and then he unraveled it from time to time to time. He created the soul of Prophet Muhammad and all our souls before he created even the universe. So he came to the mosque and said, where is the guy asking about? And he said to him, Umurun yubdiha wa la yabtidiha. And the guy said, صلي على محمد الرسول الذي علمك أدم الصلاة على خير الأنام من علمك الجواب في المنام. Keep making salah to the Prophet who taught you the answer in the dream, in your dream. So it seemed that the person who was asking the question was witnessing the same dream Abu Hamid al-Ghazali was seeing in his dream. So the summary of today's, and I've done a lot of research actually, and followed a lot of research on time, and so the illusion of time is one of the things which is really nice to see by Brian Greene, Green with an E at the end, how it's because it's related to speed. If you have the infinite speed, because if you travel a speed higher than speed of light, you can go to the back. You can go back in time. Now Allah Azza wa Jal is, so it doesn't make it difficult for us to accept that Allah Azza wa Jal is in the past, present, and future at the same time, and changing his universe the way he wanted, and he already knows what he was going to change, and he wrote it in the back. Also, he's in the future, seeing it happening. And are you with me? Can you
Yes.
see what I'm trying to explain?
Yes.
Still digesting. So it's not an easy subject, but it needs a lot of physics, a lot of astrophysics, a lot of exposure to the Quran and Sunnah, a lot of hadith, and you get the hadith. The Sahaba, one of them was talking to his son. He said, you have to believe in the qadr of Allah, the plan of Allah, and if you die without believing in that, you go to hellfire. Because basically he's not valuing Allah as he deserved to be valued. وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ. They never estimated Allah as he should be estimated. They never measured Allah as he should be measured. Allah Azza wa Jalla is the one who created this universe. Now people started untangle some of that, like quantum physics. They said you can communicate instantly in entanglement from here to the end of the universe, and which Einstein wouldn't accept. That how can you need the speed of light to communicate? You need 1 billion light years to go across the Milky Way. You need 50 billion light years to go across the known universe. So how would you communicate with the end of the universe? But the subatomic particles behave differently, because it could turn into waves and suddenly. I mean, like, photon is not a matter. It's like a wave. Could the photon act as a matter? And they showed this double slit experiment. So this is what I was trying to say. Just when you go to any atheist and you dive inside this with the knowledge from the Quran and Sunnah and the knowledge from the modern science, 21st century science, I'm sure you'll block them. And they don't come to us, but luckily many of us are unable to, So I hope you enjoyed today, and we'll choose a topic for next time. Do you have a topic you want a difficult question to answer or to be answered? I gave you the first lecture, there were a list of topics. It's already on YouTube and on the Facebook, the questions, but I could send it again. You can choose some of the questions and we go over it, inshallah, next week. Right, okay. Shall I close the session? You happy with that? Oh, you're all asleep. Oh, you've gone. I can't see any video. There's nobody moving.
No, we're here. We're here.
Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, we'll see you next week, inshallah. صلى الله على
Inshallah.
سيدنا محمد سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا هذا اجتماعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما. May Allah Azza wa Jalla make our meeting blessed and protect us after leaving each other. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والحمد لله رب العالمين.
السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.